Welcome everyone. Welcome to Bounce Back, and this is our weekly session every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Malaysia, Singapore, and Beijing, and various other time zones. In India, 7:30 a.m. Welcome everyone. Good morning to some and good evening to others. Welcome to Bounce Back. And Bounce Back is a very interesting summit. Bounce Back, better, stronger, smarter. It's a global movement to help you learn, grow as a leader. And part of the big appeal of Bounce Back is that all proceeds from Bounce Back is given to underprivileged communities and NGOs in Southeast Asia. Hi, I'm Roshan Thiran. Welcome to Bounce Back. And today we have with us Scott Friedman, who's joining us in the studio. Scott, welcome to the show. Glad to have you again with us.
Hey.
And Scott, we're going to talk a little bit about Bounce Back, but today we have an amazing speaker, somewhat famous, even though he may not, somewhat admit it. But he's a pretty famous guy, and I think 100 million over people have heard him speak, if I'm not mistaken, or heard him, or seen him on TV. Big guy that's gonna and very handsome too, at least according to him. But so we're gonna bring him up. But before we do that, tell us a bit about the Bounce Back Summit, Scott.
The Bounce Back Summit. So the Bounce Back Summit is about champions that have bounced back from all kinds of things. So it's a 12-week summit. So we're going to have 2 practice weeks. When I say practice weeks, where you can actually come in for free and see some of the things that we're doing. And then 10 Tuesdays in America, Wednesday mornings in Malaysia, Singapore, China, India, wherever that would be, that the date changes, within that time frame.
Same time anywhere in the world, except everybody's in different time zones. That's it.
Exactly. So, but you're gonna be challenged. You're gonna be inspired, and then you're gonna be challenged to write your own story. And how can you take some of these great ideas of these some wonderful champions that have done great things and apply it to your own lives? And the cool thing about it is we have 2 coaches, Jean Marie Di Giovanna and Justin Cohen, that'll be with us every week, that will help you walk through your own goals, because you're going to set a goal when we start this program, and we're looking to challenge you to and then be coached to make sure that you get what you're looking for.
And Scott, so I mean, what I'm hearing is it's a series, right? It's a development series that helps you develop to be a better leader, to enable you to be able to drive change in your community. So it's not just speakers, inspirational speakers like Mitchell, who we're gonna just introduce in a second, but it's also coaching. It's also, you get access to Nicole, which is a tool that enables you to have 1 year access to great content and a learning library. Plus, you're gonna have other top coaches, Justin, Jean Marie, and many others, who would have sessions with you to ask you where you can ask stuff and you can learn from them and you can be inspired by them. So it's going to be a real development opportunity. And I think the best part of the whole thing is that the intent. Tell us the intent of Bounce Back, because from my understanding, it's to raise a few $100,000 for marginalized and underprivileged communities in Southeast Asia. Tell us about that, Scott, and about Together We Can Change the World.
So Together We Can Change the World was started 12 years ago, and we support causes that relate to the empowerment and education of children and women in Southeast Asia. And with this whole COVID thing, there is so much, there's need all over the world, but unfortunately in the communities that we serve, where there's some, with schools being online now, and a lot of these communities not having computers and trying to figure the whole thing out, there is some tremendous need to feed and to educate. So we're trying to raise as much money as we can. Our goal is $200,000. If we came within 30 cents of that, I'd be happy, really. But every penny goes to charity. We've been partnering with Leadernomics for 4 years now, and you guys do some incredible things with foundations and youth and leadership, and we're proud of the work that we do. So it's so nice to be able to give all the money that we raise to those that really need it, related to education and empowerment.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to show a little quick video on bounce back, and then we're going to have a fantastic guest with us today, who's going to be one of the speakers at bounce back, and we have him today. So we get a chance to, kind of get a teaser of what to expect from bounce back. So before that, quick video on bounce back.
Never before in history have we felt more interconnected. Everyone's actions have the power to impact the health and well-being of everyone else's actions. We truly are all in this together. And together, we can bounce back better, stronger, smarter. Given this incredibly difficult time, when fundraising is down and the desperate need for help is up, let's work together in helping those who need us most. Starting November 10 and 11, for 14 straight Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we will host Bounce Back, a global symposium where we will share stories of overcoming great odds to create great meaning in this world. We'll explore how champions bounced back from failure, adversity, or poverty to do great things. We'll discover how business leaders created great wealth and significance, and how you can too. These winners didn't do it at the expense of others, but with the help of their fellow brothers and sisters. They showed compassion, love, kindness, and humility as they attracted like-minded people to join their tribe. We want to highlight some of the most inspiring and influential difference makers, the men and women who've influenced this world like we've never seen before. Bounce Back, better, stronger, and smarter is brought to you by Together We Can Change the World, empowering and educating less fortunate children and women in Southeast Asia to live a better life. And Leaderonomics, a social enterprise empowering our youth and giving them the skills and tools necessary to build a better future. Yes, together we can change the world.
So Scott, Bounce Back is coming up. I'm pumped about it because not only do we get to learn from 12, potentially 14 great speakers and inspirational icons, but we also get to commune together as a community in using tools like Nicole, where we can learn from each other and we can get coached and so on. So that's a fantastic program, and you can sign up today at bouncebacksummit.org. But before we get into the whole, how do you get in, buy a ticket from Bounce Back, we have a fantastic guest today. Scott, you want to do a quick introduction to Mitchell, to W. Mitchell, who is, I think, an incredible icon and a real inspirational figure. Tell us a bit about Mitchell, and then we'll bring him on to the show.
So Mitchell, I'm honored to introduce Mitchell. Mitchell and I go back, way back when. Mitchell used to live in Colorado, where I am right now speaking to you. And Mitchell has an incredible story. Mitchell has been through two horrendous accidents, which you'll hear about during the Bounce Back Summit, and how he has come back and really done amazing things in his life. He's written a best-selling book called "It's Not What Happens to You, It's What You Do About It." And that's really his life motto is, we all go through stuff, but it's how we deal with the stuff in our lives. You mentioned that he has been viewed by over 100 million people, or been in front of 100 million people. The Learning Channel did a special on him on their channel called Superhumans. You may have seen that. That was viewed, I think, by 11 people. I mean, I'm sorry, many more people than that.
I think it was 12, but
and some of you are probably thinking, I've heard that name, W. Mitchell. Tony Robbins has been speaking about him for years, and Tony is so impressed with Mitchell and all the things that he's done. And I think that Mitchell was president of the Global Speakers Federation some years back. You had last week you had Jonathan on, who was also a president. We suckered Mitchell into being a president at one time, and we sure appreciate that. But I think what I'm very proud to say, I don't mean to brag myself, but between the two of us, we have been invited to the White House by 5 different presidents. Between the two of us. Mitchell 5 times, and
Mitchell 5 times and you.
All right.
So
Well,
let's get Mitchell on. Mitchell, welcome to the show, and we're so glad to have you with us. Maybe you can start by telling us a bit about your story for those who may not have, kind of maybe those who don't know you so well, especially out here in Asia. Tell us your story, a little bit of your story.
It is a pleasure, Sean, to be with you and Scott, and to be involved and bounce back. The whole concept in life that stuff happens, and then we get to choose how we're going to bounce, where we're going to bounce, and how often we're going to bounce. And the inspiration that Scott has created with Together We Can Change the World, the amount of people, the number of people that he's brought together to share experiences that most people would never even imagine is incredible. And so I was very fortunate. I was born on the East Coast of the United States, and I served in the Marine Corps. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I was at the University of Hawaii going to school, and got a job as a disc jockey on the radio, which was just great fun and incredible to be able to touch people and reach out to people and meet people. And later, I was very fortunate to get connected to a group in the United States called the National Speakers Association. And there are, 12, 15 organizations like NSA in the United States all around the world, from Malaysia to Singapore to Australia to South Africa, all around the world. And allowing people to take their message out and share them with people, share the stories of their lives and the successes and the accomplishment of coming back, of bouncing back. Remarkable experience. So I've been very fortunate with that. As Scott mentioned, I had a couple of experiences in my life that no one would like to have happen. But the question isn't what happened. The question is, what did you do with what happened? Did you hide in the corner? Did you give up? Did you say it's not fair? Or were you able to say, you know what? I didn't like it. It wasn't a lot of fun. What did I learn? How did I grow? Who did I touch with some of the experience that came through this, not necessarily fun experience, but an experience that if I choose to learn and grow and go out and share with somebody else what I learned from that experience, then maybe I made the world a better place. And maybe some of the people that I got to talk to and touch, maybe they got to grow and learn. And maybe that goes on and on and on to people while they maybe didn't start Microsoft, but maybe they, through organizations like Microsoft or Bounce Back, or maybe they not only made their life better, but maybe other people's lives too. So I was driving my motorcycle, my brand new motorcycle, to work one day in San Francisco, and was in a motorcycle accident. The gas cap popped open, outpoured about 2 gallons of gasoline all over me, and the heat of the engine ignited it. And I was burned almost to death. 60% of my body burned in that experience. Again, horrendous, horrible, terrible. You'd never want to experience that in your life. But through that experience, I met some of the best people I've ever met in my life. I grew in ways that I may never have grown before. And through that experience, and with some money that I got from an insurance settlement, I was able to move to the mountains of Colorado, Rocky Mountain High, if anybody remembers John Denver's wonderful song. And from that experience, was able to run for mayor of my little town in Colorado. And we saved a mountain along the way, and that's a whole nother story
Yep.
And they're changing the world together.
Yeah, and it's almost like a you help somebody and it triggers them to help others, and it's a chain reaction, but it's a positive chain reaction that happens out there.
Absolutely amazing and remarkable. And I went on to have other experiences, and we'll visit at Bounce Back, at one of the Bounce Back programs. We'll visit and talk about those things.
Yeah. So at the program, you go deeper into some of these things. I think more interesting is how you bounce back, right? What the process was, because I think many of us dealt with many situations that hit us, and then we feel hopeless, we feel like victims, we feel powerless, and to understand how to power ourselves, how to take away our mindsets of being victims to be survivors, and then push ourselves forward. I think that's going to be some great insights and learnings that we can draw from you, over the Bounce Back series. I'm just going to go very quickly. There's a whole bunch of people that are saying hi to you, Mitchell, and maybe to Scott also. So Sashi says hi. Jonathan Lau, who was the previous president of the Global Speakers Bureau, says hi. And then we've got Aaron Dawson, who also says hi. We've got a LinkedIn user that says hi, and Jonathan, again, always great to have you in Malaysia and Asia. So I think he wants you back in Malaysia, Mitchell. So start packing your bags and let's get up there. And we've got another speaker, John Register. He's checking.
Hey.
John Register's listening in, and he's another speaker.
Yeah.
Bounce back story, amputee, and I mean, we're gonna have some fun listening to him also. So he's listening in too. So it's
maybe we can invite him to one of these sessions. John,
John, we gotta get you on next week or the week after, right? And get you there. So thanks for listening in, John. And then another one says good morning. So this is probably an Asian listener that's in there. And John again, registered here on LinkedIn. So well done, John.
Right.
I don't think there's a registration, but we'll accept everything, right? So thanks to everyone that's listening in. A whole bunch of people saying hi and welcoming, and Dr. Patiban from India listening in, also reinforcing positivity. Thanks, Pati. And John again, I think he's excited. He's got 3-4 messages from John. So we were all excited for everyone. Thank you all for joining in. And the idea today is actually for us to understand what the Bounce Back Summit is. And it's not just summit to raise money for communities. I mean, that's one of our big intents, is to raise funds. But more importantly, I think it's the fact that it's a development program. We want to help as many people as possible to bounce back. And if you haven't done it, go out to the Bounce Back Summit website, bouncebacksummit.org, and register today for a package, because $120 is not it's affordable, and it's not expensive to have a 12 to 14 week development program, an intense development program, followed by coaching, followed by a whole bunch of other things, including Ask Me Anything sessions with a bunch of experts like Paul Larson and a whole bunch of others, right? So if you haven't done it, go to bouncebacksummit.org now and sign up, because this is a program you want to be part of, right? So Scott, you wanna ask Mitchell's couple more questions and share a little bit more in terms of your thoughts on the whole summit and the dialogue with Mitchell?
Sure. I remember when Mitchell was the president of the Global Speakers Federation, one of the things that he said was that anytime that two members of the Global Speakers Federation were gathered, it was a meeting. So Mitchell loved to have meetings in in nice places like bars and by the beach and so Mitchell, you've been through a lot, but you're one of the guys that I respect so much because you can focus outward instead of inward. I mean, along the way, how did you develop the ability to be such a difference maker? And you always make everybody feel so good and comfortable around you. Is that a conscious intention of yours, or give us a little background there?
Well, it's interesting in life about how if we are talking, we're probably not listening. And I have met so many amazing people. And when I'm able to keep my mouth shut for a minute and learn something that they teach, that they know, that they picked up along the way from listening to somebody else. This National Speakers Association, which I became a member of and learned a lot from, in fact, the president. There were chapters all around the United States, now all around the world. And there was the president of my chapter when I joined the Speakers Association was a very wise guy. What was his name? Scott somebody. Scott. Let me think back. I'm sure I'll remember it at some point. Who never told anybody that they couldn't. Who never told anybody that they weren't good enough. Who never told anybody, I don't have time for you. And if you just listen to that one, just listen to that piece of giving as opposed to looking to get. And there's an awful lot of people on this planet who are now paying it forward because somebody paid it forward to them. They didn't say, what's in it for me? They said, hey, that was an interesting idea. How do you do that? How could I teach somebody to do that? How could I grow in a way that maybe instead of just getting, I could be the president of the National Speakers Association? Awful lot of giving involved in that. And a great deal of getting if you just give. So those are ideas that are so important. And I had lots and lots of people in my life. The nurses that took care of me when I was burned. Oh, absolutely spectacular. Later, I had an airplane accident just because I hadn't had enough fun yet, I guess, with the motorcycle. And I broke my back and I was paralyzed. And I came back from that experience better, stronger, more aware, better traveled, because I was able to stop a little bit and look around to say, what could I learn from you? How could I grow? How could I expand? And this bounce back event is going to be the equivalent of a university degree in growing and getting and becoming more resourceful, and not only passing it along to myself, but to have other people who are passing it on to me.
I have another question for you, if I may. So I brag that, 1 year I had the wonderful opportunity to sleep with you more than anybody else. Actually not most of the time, not in the same room. Luckily.
I learned how to kick better That year helped me enormously. I thought I was going to be a soccer player because I was.
No, but we in that time we spent a fair amount of time in Malaysia. Actually, we were doing some train the trainer work, and you were our kickoff guy, and you did some amazing things. But we ran into a bunch of challenges, and I'm amazing how you keep your cool in situations that that are pretty difficult. That how do you motivate yourself day in and day out when you have challenges that pop up all the time?
Well, there are moments when I do that very well, and then there's even a moment or two when I do it less well. And but I have been very fortunate in surrounding myself with some pretty amazing people, pretty remarkable people, pretty giving people, pretty helpful people who don't spend all their time climbing the ladder. They spend some of the time reaching down a few rungs on the ladder to take a hand of someone else and pulling them up. And I have been given lots of gifts and learned lots of lessons from a whole bunch of people who maybe hadn't had it easy all the time either, but will stop along the way and look around and say, okay, I've gotten to here. Hey, down there, a couple rungs down. Come on up here. I'll tell you something. I'll teach you something. And there's a lot of lessons. There's a lot of lessons. That's why things like this Bounce Back Summit is going to be an incredible event, because these are people who've learned a lot from a lot of other people. These are people who have been very successful and sometimes not successful, except the success that they created for themselves was to listen. And to whether it's a Tony Robbins, whether it's a Earl Nightingale, whether it's a Gandhi, whether it's there's a lot of people to learn from, a lot of people to learn from. And so I've been quite fortunate in that, and the success continues because I've been invited to participate and bounce back. I mean, that's an education for me.
And we can learn from you, and I think and you can learn from others too. There's a comment from Dr. Patiban who says absolutely we can learn from anyone. All we need is patience and intent. And I think he's on to something, right, Mitchell? I mean, patience and intent. I think the patience to listen and the humility, I think, to listen sometimes is critical for us to really learn. Because if we're not humble enough, I don't think we will be able to really grasp. Just for myself, last week I was listening to a guy and he said something that if I was not, because of his title and stuff, I could have just said, what can you learn from him? But because I was listening and humble enough to say I can learn from anyone, I got a great insight that helped me significantly in my business that day. So I really think that Dr. Pati is onto something. Mitchell, what do you think?
Well, if you're hiding in the corner, if you're hiding in the dark, if you're hiding because, that's too hard, and I don't think I can do that, well, you're probably right, if that's what you think. Or instead, if you say, how about if I go out to look for people who've learned, who've grown, who've created success in their world? And why don't I spend some of my time doing that? And how can I have a better day? What if at the end of every day we said to ourselves, what did I learn today? What did somebody taught me? Nothing? Oh boy, must have been a really slow day. How about that person said so-and-so, or that book, or that video or audio? There's a lot of material out there, a lot of information out there. And what did I what did I get out of today?
Mm.
What happened today where I gained a little wisdom, a little knowledge? Maybe it was a thing that cost me something or hurt me or did something else, but what did I learn? How did I grow? And I have had the enormous good fortune of being surrounded by people in my life that took a minute or two to just stop along the way and take my hand and say, "Come on, let's walk together.
Yep.
Let's see what we can gain."
And I've got a couple of folks are saying the same thing. So true. When you surround yourself with people with the same goals and intent, we can help pull each other up. From the area. But I think John Register actually brings up another point. He says lifting as we climb. Right. If we have 5 people in our circle pulling us up, it allows us to pull a couple ourselves. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that's in tune to what you were just saying, right? It's not just about us being pulled up; it's also about us pulling others up.
Well, in my very early knowing Scott, we had formed a mastermind group, whatever you want to call it, and we had learned that together we could teach each other some ideas. We could say, "I'm having this challenge, I'm having this issue, and I can't figure it out." And one of the rest of the group can say, "Hey, here's what I learned. Here's what I did. And it didn't work. And so I did something different and it worked a little bit better. And then I did this." And all of a sudden, all of us are looking at each other saying, "Wow, that's a tool that we didn't know existed."
Yeah, what a great concept, the whole mastermind concept, where like YPO has the forum groups where you all are very openly share your businesses and what your needs are. And I forgot that we were in a mastermind group. Guys, that was the late 80s. When we're old.
That was a couple of years ago.
Just one other quick comment from one of our from Dr. Parthiban again. Michelle, love your vocabulary. I've not heard any words with negative connotation, and I think sometimes this is tough for many people, right? They get themselves into a fix where it's tough, to unburden yourself from all the issues and the challenges and the obstacles, and we start having a lot of negativity in our thoughts. In our words, just listening to this whole conversation, I think Pati is saying that, hey, we've not heard a single negative word in spite of all the challenges and issues you faced. What do you say on that, Mitchell?
Well, I'm relatively positive, and I'm relatively successful, and I'm relatively organized, and then sometimes I'm not any of those things. And then I get to stop along the way and call a friend, read something that somebody shared with me, and say, "Okay, I know this is a challenge, and I've got some friends who've been through some challenges. And I wonder what they would say, what they would do, how they would take it as we've heard the term stepping stone instead of a stumbling block." And when it's not all perfect, what's next? Those are the 2 most powerful words in the English language, as far as I'm concerned. What's next? This one didn't work. This one was not successful. This one, ooh, boy, that hurt. What's next? I don't know whether it was Scott or somebody in the National Speakers Association once said, "The truly successful person is the person who can enjoy the scenery on a detour."
Yeah, that's right.
And detours. Life's full of detours. Life's full of all kinds of stuff. And some of the most beautiful moments in our entire lifetime have happened on a detour.
Absolutely.
Janice Stanfield's one of my favorite songs of Janet, the co-founder of Together We Can Change the World, is "I am not lost, I am exploring. Life is an adventure worth enjoying. Don't tell Jen I sang her song.
And she sings that a little bit better than Scott.
Yeah, she does that a lot more better.
Jenna.
Good to have you singing on the screen. I think Sweat sort of summarized this. I guess this pandemic taught us to do things completely different. This is the detour we're talking about, which we may not have thought about if we weren't forced into this situation. So sometimes these detours make us better and enable us to be richer and a lot more, in a sense, take us to a new path that we would have never ever imagined. We've got a couple more minutes. I just need a quick wrap up. Scott and Mitchell, would love to hear your thoughts on Bounce Back and why people need to sign up for Bounce Back and why this is going to be a breakthrough event in their lives and a turning point in their lives. Scott, Mitchell.
I watch people. I speak at events all around the world, of course, and I think about the people at that event, whether they're paying money to go to the event or whether it's something their boss has set up, and I think, what would you be doing today if you hadn't come to this event? What would you be watching? A rerun of a television show? Would you be watching a sport event on television? Would you be arguing with somebody about some relatively pointless thing? You just invested an hour or 2 hours or 5 hours of your life. You just took $50 out of your pocket and invested it in your brain. The term we always hear about technology, garbage in, garbage out. Everybody's heard that term. How about quality in? How about, what have you fed your brain today? And how far has that helped you get to your next goal? Get to the next event? What are you investing in? And the investment that you're going to get from Bounce Back isn't just the investment feeding your own brain, but wow, how many other people are going to get something from that, what you learned at Bounce Back? How many other people are going to be richer, not necessarily at the bank account, but how many people are going to be richer because they know more, can see more, can climb more ladders?
Nice. Yeah. For me, there's so many inspirations that we're going to see in the 12 weeks that we're doing this, and it's there's a lot out there right now. You hear the term Zoom fatigue a fair amount, but the cool thing about Bounce Back is we really have some very unique individuals like Mitchell and John Register, who's on the call. Thanks, John, for being on tonight. We just signed Immaculée. Immaculée is an amazing lady from Rwanda who spent, gosh, what was it, 30 some odd days in a bathroom during their genocide and survived. Such an amazing story. I have some favorites that I've heard over my 35-year career at the National Speakers Association. Mitchell, the way you tell your story and how inspirational it is when you're on the platform, which we will hear on December 1st. And Immaculée was one of my very favorites that I've ever heard. So to be able to be inspired and then to talk in groups and be coached, okay, now that we've heard this, how does it apply to me? And what can I do in my life to take that next step and to take that inspiration and motivation and make some positive changes, to give back and to be a better person and to really, to make a better life, not only for me, but for my community as well. So I think it's really exciting. And we never know what we're going to learn or how we're going to grow, but we just have to put ourselves in a position that we know that we're going to get fed the education and the inspiration that we need. And I think that's what Bounce Back is going to do.
So I'm gonna just we have to wrap up pretty soon. So I'm just gonna read through a couple more comments that are popping up. And as we I'd love to hear your final thoughts, right? So Scott and Mitchell, love to hear your final thoughts on. So I'm just going to go through all the comments. We're not going to go one by one, but Jonathan talks about coachable moments, right? Great leaders that are coachable often demonstrate courage, humility, and discipline. Always learning, as in what Mitchell said. What's next? John Register says maybe this is not it's not a detour, right? What I mean is that what if all innovation we have could be every day, and this is my new normal mindset. He adds, what is new, what is normal. This can be a growth opportunity, and oh my goodness, Immaculate is rock solid. One of the most powerful stories. I mean, I think that's adding on to what Scott is saying. And Zinin, indeed a valuable opportunity to join Bounce Back with an affordable price to challenge our mind that tough life events is a choice of perception, not an ultimate sentence. So some great comments coming in, and there's a couple more flowing in, but we don't have time to take all your comments. Apologize, but just your final reactions, Scott and Mitchell, and your final thoughts before we close out today, and invite everybody to go to bouncebacksummit.org and sign up today, because don't lose out on this opportunity. We want to especially thank Microsoft, who has come in as a partner, a technology partner. So Microsoft, thank you, because we will be running all of our summit speakers on the Microsoft Teams platform, and also Nicole, which will be our off-learning platform. So we want to thank the two technology folks who are coming in and supporting this event. We look forward to all of you, especially if you have a business or if you are a leader in a business, right? What a great opportunity to sign up your employees as a Christmas gift or as a Thanksgiving gift or as a year-end gift. I mean, we can't do dinners anymore in most places. You can't have your annual dinner. Why not sign up your employees? Instead of a dinner, sign them up for Bounce Back. What a great gift to give your employees. So we look forward to everyone signing up for Bounce Back. Final thoughts, Scott. Final thoughts, Mitchell. We'll start with Scott. Your final thoughts for the day.
I thought we just gave our final thoughts. Wasn't that what we just did?
Okay.
No. And the other thing is, but besides challenging yourself and taking the next step in your life, it's for a great cause. I've always believed that if God gives you the resources to have a good life, that we need to share those resources. And this is a wonderful way to share while feeding your own mind at the same time. All
right. And Mitchell?
As a wise man once said, maybe as a wise woman, it probably was a wise woman, once said, it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. Now, I saw that on a wall somewhere a long time ago and wrote it down and have put it as the title of my book, the title of my program. Life happens, then you get to choose. What are you going to choose to do on the day or days that Bounce Back is available to you? What are you going to do with that day? There's lots of stuff to do, lots of stuff. What are you going to do with that day? Think about it.
All right. Thank you, Mitchell. And Samuel says, it's a core capability to have to bounce back. But I'm going to end with Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman says, come be inspired. And Wonder Woman says, be there. We got to be there, because we have to heed Wonder Woman's advice after all. So thank you, everyone. We look forward to having you at the Bounce Back Summit. It's going to be an awesome summit. So sign up, bouncebacksummit.org. It's a global movement to help you learn and grow as a leader. While remember, 100% of all proceeds are donated back to underprivileged communities and NGOs in Southeast Asia. Thank you, Mitchell. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate your time. Let's all bounce back together and see you all November 11th. Take care. Have a great time.
It's a pleasure, my brother. Pleasure.